I was reborn back to my sophomore year of college. My green tea roommate, Samantha, rushed over, her face full of smug satisfaction, and said to me, "I'm pregnant. It's your boyfriend Ryan Carter's baby." This time I didn't cry or throw a fit. I smiled and congratulated them. Ryan looked like he had just seen a ghost. At the same time, I called my dad and told him to cut off every bit of financial support we were giving Ryan. In this life, the York family will never again raise an ungrateful leech like him. In my past life, I was killed by Ryan Carter. I had a congenital heart condition, but Ryan deliberately got me pregnant twice. The first time, when I was 3 months along, he slipped abortion pills into my food, and I lost the baby on the way to the hospital. My parents died in a car accident as their so-called son-in-law, Ryan, took over all of my family's business operations. In public, he wore mourning clothes for my parents, cried like his heart was broken, and acted like the perfect grieving son-in-law. But once the funeral was over, he locked me in the house and began to abuse me, beating me, pushing my head into the toilet and whipping me with a belt. With a twisted face, he snarled at me, "Melissa, that damn woman finally died, so tell me, how do you think you should die?" I tried to escape and report him to the police twice, but he forged psychiatric evaluations claiming I was mentally unstable. At the station, he clung to me, crying and acting like he loved me deeply. But the moment we got home, he dragged me by the hair and beat me mercilessly. My second pregnancy was also his doing. When I was 5 months along, he forced scalding hot water and crushed pills down my throat. My vocal cords were destroyed. I never spoke another word again. I gave birth covered in blood. I lay on the floor trying desperately to call for help, but he grabbed my hair and forced me to lift my head. "Melissa York, if it weren't for you, Samantha wouldn't have died. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been forced to marry into the York family and become a laughingstock. Someone like you isn't worthy of carrying a Carter child. You don't deserve me. All the suffering you're going through now is just your family paying for its sins." Tears streamed down my cheeks, mixing with blood. The York family's sin was because after Ryan's father went bankrupt from a romance scam, we helped fund his education in life. The pain in my stomach was unbearable. My heart felt like it was tearing apart with every beat. I opened my mouth trying to breathe, but I couldn't take in a single breath. My vision faded. The only thing I could still see was Ryan Carter's hideously twisted face. "If there's a next life, I'm pregnant," someone said at the corner of the dorm, the tone full of smug pride and a hint of showiness, "with your boyfriend Ryan Carter's baby." Samantha leaned toward me and said it softly. The scene looked so familiar. The cramped dorm room was filled with mixed scents: perfume, soap, makeup, and the musty smell of old clothes. "Up, pretending you're some innocent little flower if you're sick. You shouldn't even be in school." Samantha's voice rang in my ears again. I pinched my thigh hard once, then twice. It was real. I was truly back. I had been reborn, returned to my sophomore year. Samantha puffed up like a proud rooster, strutted over, and announced she was pregnant with Ryan Carter's baby. In my past life, at this exact moment, I was so blinded by love for Ryan that I slapped her in the face and ran off to confront him. My heart condition flared up from the emotional shock, and I ended up in the hospital. My mom rushed there that night, scolded Ryan harshly, and he acted all pitiful and remorseful in front of her. Afterwards, she comforted me, saying, "Young couples fight, it's normal." Later, when Samantha had an abortion at a shady little clinic, she suffered massive blood loss. Both she and the baby died. Normally, Ryan wouldn't have been able to escape punishment from the university, but my mom spent money pulling strings and gave Samantha's family a huge settlement to hush things up. I took a deep breath, steadied my nerves, and gave Samantha a slight smile. "Congratulations. Are you planning to keep the baby?" Samantha's eyes lifted, filled with unrestrained pride. She leaned in, testing my reaction. "Melissa, you're not mad at me, are you? I mean, I did steal your rich boyfriend." "I couldn't help it either," Samantha said with a shrug. "Ryan said you're old-fashioned and boring. You just focus on studying and reviewing all day. I heard you're planning to go to grad school, right? It's not a bad idea to prepare early. Anyway, I'm heading out. Ryan's taking me to a Michelin-starred dinner tonight." I nodded with a calm smile and said, "Then you'd better hurry. Enjoy. Wait for me to tell you all about it later." She chirped as she bounced out. The moment Samantha left and I was alone in the dorm, I immediately called my mom. Having lived through 2 lifetimes, hearing her voice again nearly made me cry. "Melissa, what's wrong?" she asked, clearly sensing something off in my voice. "I know studying hard is important, but you still need to take care of yourself." "I'm fine, Mom," I said, forcing a smile. "I just wanted to say maybe it's time we stopped financially supporting Ryan Carter. He's already in college after all." Back when Ryan first started university, my mom had said, "We're not family. Funding him through college should be enough." But in my past life, I was completely blind, falling for Ryan at first sight and insisting that my parents treat him to the same lifestyle I had. I claimed that Ryan was smart, that he would eventually get into grad school and could help my dad run the business after graduation. Everything back then went according to my plan. Ryan did finish school, got into grad school, and joined my family's company. Everyone knew he was the York family's chosen son-in-law. Since I was an only child, it all seemed natural. What I didn't know was that my deep, sincere love had only invited a wolf into the... My mom didn't ask whether Ryan and I had argued. Instead, she said, "I never thought Ryan was particularly trustworthy. I even had your birth charts compared. You two aren't compatible." "I know, Mom," I replied sweetly. "Let's just go ahead and cancel his credit card." Today, after I hung up, I wondered if my mom moved quickly. Would Ryan even be able to pay for that fancy Michelin dinner tonight? What I didn't know yet was that Ryan, desperate to maintain the illusion of a rich young master in front of Samantha, had taken her to a Michelin 3-star restaurant. He even reserved a ridiculously expensive private dining room. When it came time to pay, he found that his credit card had been cut off. Panicked, he immediately called my mom. "Ryan," she said calmly, "I texted you this afternoon. You're in your junior year, about to graduate. The York family won't be sponsoring you any longer." And with that, she hung up. But Ryan completely ignored the message, or maybe in his subconscious, he simply refused to process it. Out of options, he called me. I answered, but before I could say a word, he launched into accusations. "Melissa York, what the hell is your family trying to pull?" he snapped. "Your mom just cancels my card out of nowhere like I'm some 3-year-old she can push around. You people think you can humiliate me just because you've got a few lousy dollars." I laughed coldly inside. In my past life, I spent every moment walking on eggshells around Ryan and his fragile ego. He constantly mocked me, calling me a spoiled princess who had no clue about real life because I was born rich. And I, like a fool, lowered myself, humored him, catered to him, trying so hard to make him feel respected. Bit by bit, he backed me into a corner until I was labeled mentally ill, and somehow everyone believed him. But in this life, I just smiled. "Ryan," I said evenly, "we were planning to stop supporting you once you started college. My family isn't a charity after all. But my dad remembered the friendship he had with your father from their military days and decided to support you for 2 more years out of goodwill. Now that you're in your junior year and graduation is coming up, it's time to stand on your own. You should start thinking about part-time jobs and internships. Leaning on others forever isn't a plan. But don't worry, we won't be using money to insult your character. The dorm lights are about to go off. Goodbye." I hung up, but barely a moment passed before he called again, furious. "Melissa York, you did it on purpose, didn't you?" Ryan snapped. "You just can't stand to see me doing well. So what if I used a bit of your family's money? Do you really need to use it to control me like this? Just because I spent your money, now I have to marry into your family? Otherwise, you cut off my card? Melissa York, who do you think you're humiliating?" I felt nothing. I chuckled softly and said, "Ryan Carter, you really do overestimate yourself. We were living under the same roof, and some flirty words here and there. There were just us being young and foolish. You actually believed it meant something. No one's trying to control someone like you." "Oh right," I added. "You're the one who said people with relationship brains should be wiped out. What happened, Ryan? Did you catch it too? Don't bother me with your drama." With that, I hung up and blocked his number. As for how he ended up paying that restaurant bill, not my problem. It was the weekend and Samantha didn't return on Saturday. She finally came back Sunday evening, full of excitement, even bringing little gifts for our other 2 roommates. She couldn't stop bragging about how rich her boyfriend was. "He owns a duplex just off campus," she gushed. "I'm telling you girls, you're lucky I'm not staying in the dorm anymore. I'm moving out. Samantha spun around the dorm like she was giving a royal farewell, her face glowing with pride. This dorm's way too small for 4 people. It's cramped. Once I move out, you'll have more space. Ryan Carter had worked hard to keep up his image as the wealthy, charming heir in front of Samantha. Tall and sharp-featured, he drove around campus in my Porsche, always catching girls' eyes. I never exposed him. In fact, I even went out of my way to help him keep up the act. But now, that house of mine? There's no way I'd let Samantha move into it. As for the car, I'd already called Ryan twice yesterday and told him to return it. He answered the first call, but when I called again, he blocked me. No big deal. I just filed a police report. It's a luxury vehicle, so the police take that seriously. I figured I'd hear back by tomorrow, but the police worked faster than I expected. Around 7 p.m., I got a call saying they'd located the car, but it had been pawned off to the Michelin restaurant as collateral for his dinner bill. They asked me to come deal with it. Without hesitation, I changed clothes and got ready to leave. Melissa, heading out again? Going on a date with your boyfriend? Samantha asked. Obviously fishing, I replied cheerfully. I'll bring back milk tea for you guys. I caught a cab and headed to the restaurant. The police were already there when I arrived. I handed over all the documents I prepared the night before. Car invoice, ownership paperwork, registration, title, everything. One of the officers asked, "Did you loan this car to a student named Ryan Carter?" I nodded obediently and explained. Ryan's dad and my dad were army buddies. A while ago, he came to me asking to borrow the car. I agreed, but he never returned it. A few days ago, he even blocked me, so I had no choice but to report it. I'd already provided all this information when I initially filed the report, along with Ryan's contact info. Since Ryan hadn't paid for the meal, the restaurant wasn't about to let the car go, so the police contacted him and asked him to come in. At first, he refused, but when the officer warned him that if he didn't show, they'd treat this as vehicle theft, he changed his mind. It wasn't until after 9 p.m. that Ryan finally. I strolled in acting like I had all the time in the world. The moment he saw me, he barked, "Melissa York, what the hell is your problem? I just used your car for a bit and you pull this crap." Even the police couldn't take his attitude. They gave him a firm talking to. When it came time for mediation, Ryan had just one thing to say. "I'm a student, I don't have any money." He said his family just froze the credit card. The officer relayed that he claims he'll settle the restaurant bill once the money comes through next month, but I wanted my car back now. Then Ryan had the audacity to suggest that if I wanted the car back immediately, I should pay off the restaurant bill myself. Naturally, I refused. I told him flat out that what he did was illegal. He borrowed my car and didn't return it, then used it as collateral without my permission. That's unlawful possession of someone else's property. Either he returned the car or I'd hire a lawyer and take legal action. The officers advised him to just pay the bill and give me my car back. After all, the situation had escalated to the point of involving police. Telling his parents wouldn't make it any worse. So Ryan started calling my parents one by one. My mom didn't answer, but my dad did. As soon as Ryan mentioned money, my dad hung up without another word. Right in front of me, Ryan cursed under his breath. "So what if you're rich? No sons means your family line dies off anyway." His words were nasty. Then he started asking classmates to borrow money. Eventually, he scraped together most of it but still came up short. In the end, he wrote the restaurant an IOU promising to pay the remainder in a few days. Because the police were mediating, the restaurant accepted it. I drove my car straight to Camellia Grove, the duplex Samantha had been eyeing for weeks. I changed the access code and called the building's security, informing them that Ryan Carter wasn't the owner and shouldn't be let in under any circumstances. That house was mine. I wasn't going to let anyone else live there. By the time everything was taken care of and I got back to the dorm, it was almost 10 p.m. I'd even picked up milk tea for the other 2 roommates. Samantha blocked my way at the door, eyes red. "Melissa York, what's your problem?" she snapped. "Why are you clinging to my boyfriend? You trying to be the other woman?" I couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Samantha, you calling me the other woman? That's rich, considering you're the one who moved in late and hooked up with someone else's boyfriend. Oh, and you've got it all wrong," I added with a bright, cheerful smile. Ryan Carter, the guy you're treating like treasure, is just someone my dad's family sponsored. We've known him since high school. He even stayed at our place for a while. That's it. So don't worry, I said firmly. There's nothing between us. I won't get in the way of your grand plan to marry Rich. My voice was loud, clear, and absolutely confident. Samantha hesitated for a moment. Seriously? She asked. Sure, I replied. If you don't believe me, I can even post a statement on the campus bulletin. Then I gave a little shrug. Besides, you're pregnant. The dorm is tiny. We joke and mess around all the time. What if we accidentally bump into you or something? That wouldn't end well, I mean. Look, I didn't even dare bring you milk tea tonight. What if something went wrong and I got blamed? I couldn't live with that kind of responsibility. The moment the others heard she was pregnant, both of my other roommates looked utterly stunned. Sure, college doesn't ban dating, but we were only sophomores. Most of us didn't even have financial independence yet, and we still had school to focus on. Nobody would be foolish enough to risk everything on a pregnancy except Samantha. She must have seriously miscalculated if she thought having a baby could rope in a man, and she was blind enough to mistake a penniless scumbag like Ryan Carter for a rich prince. In this life, I'd let them have each other. I wanted to see just how far their love would go, if it could really last forever. Samantha's eyes fell on the bag in my hand. It was a limited edition Hermes, a birthday gift from my aunt when I turned 18. She'd seen it when she visited my duplex before. Suddenly, she grabbed my arm hard. So hard that it actually hurt. Melissa York, you almost fooled me, she said through gritted teeth. Don't act all innocent after getting your way. What, Ryan Carter gave you that bag? You expect me to believe that? She jabbed a finger toward the Hermes in my hand. You just can't stand to see me happy. You're clinging to him on purpose. He told me. You only stick around him because your dad and his dad were army buddies. Samantha accused, her tone sharp. You've been clinging to him all along. I responded calmly. Wow, no matter what I say, you just doubt me. How about this? Call Ryan Carter. Put him on speaker. Better yet, make it a video call. Let's clear things up right now so you don't keep thinking I'm interfering in your relationship. I don't need to carry the blame of being the other woman. I gave a dry chuckle. My two other roommates were quietly sipping their milk teas, nodding along like they were watching a live drama unfold. Samantha hesitated for a moment, but I knew the moment I walked out earlier. She must have gotten nervous and already called Ryan. Ryan, in whatever twisted mindset he had, actually told her I'd been obsessively chasing after him. He claimed he only humored me out of respect for our parents' friendship. Classic Ryan, always feeding his own ego, trying to make himself look noble. Even my other two roommates started chiming in, nudging Samantha. Go on, call him. Video call. Set it straight. Under pressure, Samantha finally dialed Ryan's number and put him on video speaker. Samantha, it's late. Why are you calling now? What are you making a fuss about? Ryan's voice came through, already sounding annoyed. Honestly, if I were in his shoes, I'd be irritable too after scrambling to borrow money from everywhere just to cover a fancy dinner. Bill, his whole rich boy image had collapsed in one night. Of course, he was on edge. Too bad Samantha had no idea what was really going on. Her tone turned soft and syrupy, almost pleading. Ryan, she cooed. I saw Melissa carrying a bag tonight. It's that Hermes limited edition, the one you said you kept in the display case, the one you promised to give me. Her voice was laced with the kind of delicate grievance she thought would earn sympathy on the other end. Ryan sounded exasperated. It's just a bag, Samantha. She kept bothering me about it, so I gave it to her out of respect for our dad's friendship. I didn't wait for him to finish. I raised my voice and cut in. Ryan Carter, let's get this straight. Since when did you ever give me a limited edition Hermes? He clearly hadn't expected Samantha to be calling with speakerphone on. For a second, he froze. I continued firmly. Ryan, explain this to your girlfriend right now. Otherwise, I'm taking both of you to court for slander. My outburst must have pissed him off because he suddenly shouted, Samantha, what are you even freaking out about? It's just a damn bag. I'll buy you a new one tomorrow. And with that, he hung up, but his explanation wasn't convincing at all. Samantha's face turned ghostly pale, like she'd just been punched in the gut. She climbed into her bed, sobbing uncontrollably well into the night. The next afternoon, Ryan pulled me aside behind a grove of trees near campus. He had this cold look on his face as he asked, "Melissa York, what exactly are you trying to do?" One of his arms slammed against the tree behind me, pinning me in with a textbook Cabot Dawn pose. He probably thought he looked suave. I stepped around the tree to put some distance between us, staring him down. "Melissa, I'll just take what happened yesterday as you throwing a little tantrum," he said condescendingly. "I'll let it go now. Transfer me $50,000, and whatever you told your parents, go fix it. If I don't see that money in my account next month, we're done." "Got it." As he spoke, he actually reached out to pinch my chin. I slapped his hand away hard and stared at the QR payment code on his phone with open disgust. "What are you, a beggar?" I sneered. "Always sticking your hand out for money. Can't you have even a little dignity?" Ryan's face turned bright red, his expression twisting in fury and humiliation. "You dare humiliate me?" he growled. "You came to me looking to be humiliated?" I shot back loudly. We were still on campus, just behind some trees barely hidden from view. Students were walking by on the nearby path. The moment I raised my voice, Ryan's expression cracked. He was the kind of guy who was deeply insecure and couldn't stand being called out for being broke. His whole ego rested on the image he'd built. I watched him fall apart. He shoved me hard, making me stumble back a step. Through gritted teeth, he hissed, "Can you keep your voice down? Why are you making a scene?" "What, you're scared I'll make noise?" I said, glaring at him. "What do you even want from me?" I asked deliberately. "You want to buy your girlfriend a designer bag, and you come running to me for money? What am I, your mom or your dad? If you don't have money or ability, why are you pretending to be some rich hotshot? Just buy a canvas tote." I raised my voice. There were already plenty of students around, and now some of them had started to stop and watch. "Melissa York, what are you trying to pull?" Ryan growled. "You're making a scene." "I'm not embarrassed at all," I said loudly. "The only embarrassing thing here is someone who's broke trying to act like a baller." With that, I turned on my heel and walked away. Behind me, Ryan's voice came through, seething with rage. "Melissa York, don't you dare regret this." "Regret? Of course not." I made a point of driving the Porsche to school, then pulled into the small parking lot next to the dorm, making sure everyone saw. As expected, Samantha couldn't sit still any longer. With a tearful face, she stormed over to pick a fight. "Melissa York, you're a liar. Why are you clinging to Ryan like that? What are you getting out of this?" she yelled, making a big scene. "Everyone help me judge this fairly. Ryan and I are dating, but Melissa keeps chasing after him and trying to sabotage us. She's totally being the other woman." Our dorm door was wide open. Neighbors from nearby rooms stuck their heads out, clearly curious to catch the latest gossip. Once I saw enough people had gathered, I smiled and said, "Samantha, what's your deal? Which one of your eyes saw me chasing after Ryan? I can't get far enough away from him. You're literally driving his car and still saying that," she snapped, jabbing a finger in my face. I gave a cold laugh, smacked her hand away, then pulled a document from my bag and tossed it to her. "Here, take a look for yourself. Whose name is on the vehicle registration? Anyone with common sense knows the owner's name has to be on that form. There's no way a car registered under Ryan's name would show me as the owner. This is fake," Samantha accused, her voice sharp. "You forged it." I was so amused I nearly laughed out loud. "Samantha, have you been watching too many TV dramas? You seriously need to stop imagining enemies everywhere. You can call Ryan right now and ask whose car it is. But next time, don't throw around accusations like that. Not everyone is like you, constantly obsessing over love and romance." Then I raised my voice again. "Everyone here, please be my witness. Yes, I know Ryan Carter, but I have nothing to do with him after what happened last time." Samantha went outside to call him again. When she came back, her eyes were puffy from crying. I used to be really low-key. I didn't care much about designer bags, clothes, or jewelry. But now I deliberately browse shopping sites out loud, debating between options and asking the other two roommates which designer bag I should get, Chanel or Louis Vuitton. Samantha clearly couldn't stand it. She complained that we were being noisy. "Oh, come on, Samantha," one of the girls said. Every time, meanwhile, her pregnancy symptoms got worse. Everything she ate made her vomit. She hogged the bathroom constantly and never cleaned up after herself. Of course, the rest of us started to complain. We eventually agreed she needed to move out and brought it up with the dorm supervisor. When the supervisor found out she was pregnant, she panicked, worried something might happen and she'd lose her job. Furious, she gave Samantha a strict warning. Move out within 3 days or she'd report her to the university leadership. Naturally, Samantha didn't want to keep living with us anyway. She'd been eyeing my duplex at Camellia Grove for ages. So she ran crying to Ryan again. Ryan came to me asking if they could stay at my place for a while. I rejected him without hesitation. With no other choice, he rented a unit in Camellia Grove at a high price. Within just 3 months, his credit card and online loans had all gone overdue. He was getting collection calls from banks, lenders, and even sketchy friends he'd borrowed from. Then the rent came due. The landlord came knocking. Samantha got into an argument with him and screamed, "My husband is the heir to the Jorson Group. You think we can't afford a little rent?" Unfortunately for her, the landlord knew me and burst out laughing. He told Samantha, "The Jorson Group has one beloved daughter. There is no heir son." Samantha was stunned. Her entire fantasy shattered. She rushed to campus, still pregnant, and didn't care whether Ryan was in class or not. She stormed into the lecture hall and created a massive scene. Ryan's face got scratched up. His textbooks were thrown everywhere. Of course, Samantha didn't get off easy either. He grabbed her by the hair and slapped her across the face several times. The elderly professor couldn't take it anymore and had them pulled apart. He even arranged for Samantha to be taken to the campus clinic. I only found out later that afternoon, chatting with my roommates while we snacked and tried to get the full scoop. One of them asked me, "Melissa, since your dad and Ryan's dad were old army buddies, is Ryan really the heir to the Jor Group?" "Of course not," I said, sipping my milk tea with a grin. "He has absolutely nothing to do with the Jorson Group." As twilight fell, I had dinner at the school cafeteria. I was casually scrolling on my phone heading back toward the dorms when someone suddenly jumped out from under a tree and grabbed me. He tried to kiss me. I screamed, terrified, and smashed my phone against his head. "Melissa, it's me. Don't freak out." Under the dim yellow glow of the street lamp, Ryan Carter stood there trying to look emotional and sincere. "Melissa," he said, his voice low, "I've missed you so much." I burst out laughing. "Ryan Carter, your girlfriend's belly is already huge, and you're telling me you miss me?" I scoffed. "Please don't miss me. You don't even deserve to." As I turned to leave, Ryan rushed to block my path. "Melissa, listen to me," he pleaded. I was just confused for a moment. I figured, everything out now, you're the one I love the most. Just give me a little money, I'll take her to get an abortion and I'll break up with her. We can start over. I promise I'll love you the right way this time. He had said something eerily similar in our past life after Samantha lost the baby. I didn't know what possessed me then, even though I knew he was responsible for her death. Even though my mother had warned me that any man who cheats during a relationship could never be a good partner, I didn't listen. I was lost in a fantasy of romance I made up in my own head, and in the end it led to my brutal death. Now hearing those same words felt like a sick joke. "Ryan Carter," I said coldly, "you think you're qualified to talk about love?" A flicker of embarrassment crossed his face, but he quickly forced a smile and said, "Melissa, I know I messed up. Hit me if you want." He actually grabbed my hand and tried to guide it to slap him. I yanked my hand back and scrubbed it against my jeans with visible disgust. "Do you have any idea how disgusting you are? Don't touch me. Just looking at you makes me sick." I started walking toward the dorm again, but he stepped in front of me with a dark look on his face. "Melissa York," he growled in a low voice, "can you stop?" "So I slept with another woman. How long are you going to keep making a scene? I already apologized. What more do you want? You want me to get on my knees? None of this would have happened if you hadn't been acting like some frigid virgin who wouldn't let me touch her." The moment those words left his mouth, rage exploded inside me. "Ryan Carter," I snapped, "you really think you're something? You're nothing but a stray dog my family took in out of pity, and you think you're good enough for me? You ever looked in a mirror?" "No." "Then go take a piss and see your reflection." I didn't wait for a response. I stormed off toward the women's dorm. Later that night, Samantha called me. Her voice trembled through the line. Melissa, you're the real heiress of the Jorson Group, aren't you? My dad's the founder and CEO, I said flatly. I'm his daughter, not a princess, just his daughter. Why didn't you tell me? She cried. He's nothing. Ryan's family is broke, drowning in debt. What do I do? She broke down sobbing over the phone. Get the abortion, I told her calmly. Come back, finish school, graduate, get a good job. That's the best thing you can do for yourself. Our university was one of the top schools in the country. The degree alone could open doors to a solid future. Over the call, I reminded her to go to a proper hospital for the procedure. After all, in our past life, she died because of a botched abortion. Worried, I called Uncle Wong, our family driver, and asked him to find a few people to keep an eye on her just in case. A little over a week later, while I was in class, Uncle Wong called. Miss, he said, panic in his voice. Something's wrong. That girl had massive bleeding during the abortion. I asked Xia Wu and the others to rush her to the hospital. Quickly. I transferred some money to Uncle Wong and begged him to make sure Samantha survived. If she died, it'd be too easy on a scumbag like Ryan. Samantha pulled through, but the doctor said the baby was already over 5 months old, almost 6. That back alley clinic wasn't clean at all. The bleeding was just the beginning. She'd also developed an infection. Even if she recovered, she wouldn't be able to have children again. After Samantha's miscarriage, Ryan Carter launched a full-on campaign to win me back. It gave me such a headache that I finally had no choice but to call the police. They gave him a stern warning and a lecture. As soon as we stepped out of the station, he blocked my way and said, Melissa, we're meant to be together. This time I swear I won't let you down. Trust me. But I caught something in his words, something subtle. It made my heart skip for just a second. Uncertain, still I didn't ask. Instead, I sneered at Carter and said, And what exactly are you using to chase after me? Your non-existent company? A property you don't own? Or that filthy little carrot between your legs? All you've got is a mountain of debt. What else do you have to offer? I glared at him. If you harass me again, I'll report you for public disturbance and have you locked up. Then I got into my car and drove off. For a full week, Ryan didn't come looking for me. I was surprised by his nature. He shouldn't have given up so easily. He was addicted to vanity. If he wasn't, he wouldn't have impersonated my identity to win people over. I was his shortcut and he knew it. Then one night around midnight, Uncle Wong called. Miss, something happened. Something serious. What is it, Uncle Wong? I asked, alarmed. Samantha stabbed Ryan Carter more than 10 times. I was stunned. Did he die? No, Uncle Wong said. But she did. He explained that it was technically ruled self-defense. Ryan had killed her, but the wounds on him were minor except for one. Samantha had managed to slice off most of his genitals. I couldn't even imagine how she'd done it, but somehow she had. And this time she hadn't died on an operating table from a botched abortion. She was murdered by Ryan Carter himself. The police classified it as involuntary manslaughter. Ryan was sentenced to 8 years in prison. In lockup, he made a scene and demanded to see me. I agreed, sitting behind the glass holding the phone. I looked at him in that prison uniform and smiled. I was deeply satisfied with how this ended. Why? He asked me. Why did you save her? That stupid woman should have died in that back alley clinic. It was her fate. If she died, we could have been together. You would have forgiven me, Melissa. You love me, right? I tapped the phone against the glass and gave him a cold, mocking smile. Ryan Carter, I said. Wake up. Love you. You're dreaming. I came here today just to see how miserable you've become. That's why I saved Samantha, because I knew keeping her alive would make you suffer. Wasn't she your great love? I continued. Didn't you say she'd never survive without me? So I made sure. She didn't die on that operating table. I wanted her alive just so you could rot. I hung up the phone. Through the glass, I saw the shock in Ryan's eyes, the fear, the rage, the disbelief. Life in prison was hell for him. He had no money, no influence, and now no manhood. Everyone looked down on him. Everyone wanted to beat him. 2 years later, on the day of my college graduation, Uncle Wong called again. Miss, he said. Ryan Carter is dead. Uncle Wong explained that he couldn't handle the bullying anymore. One day when the guards weren't paying attention, He rammed his head into the wall and died instantly. The moment I heard the news, I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. For the first time in this life, I smiled, truly smiled, knowing I was finally free from his shadow.